Alrighty, so if you already read the title of the video, you would know that this is a modeling tutorial. So today I'm going to teach you how to make some cool shit. So first, let's get our model. So we have to go to the extracted game, which you use GCR for, and we have to go on Mama 4 because that's where our model we want is. So let's go ahead and extract the model. So when that's all nice and extracted, you just go in there, and now we're just gonna go ahead and grab our model real quick. And here it is, Monty Man. Go ahead and put him in a folder. Then grab your lovely 3ds Max. And I have a BMD importer, which I will have to link in description. So then we grab Monty Man here. We're gonna import him. See, this is what it should look like after importing him, of course. And you should only have one mesh with one trait of bones, just like this. It should say 0.1 with Monty Man model character or whatever. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make sure that's saved as a 3ds Max file, and we're gonna go to new, and now we're gonna open up our Mario real quick so we can do a nice skin wrap of Mario. So this is Mario. You see he has 2 bones too because he was imported the same exact way. So what we're gonna do is we're going to import, merge. We'll go to our model we were just on. It's right here, Monty Man. And you're only going to want to click the model, because that's all we really want is the model itself. So we're going to go ahead and delete his old skin. We're going to make sure this is saving on his file too. And there we are. So now what we're gonna want to do is go down on over to where it says skin wrap, and we're going to add Mario, and we're gonna make sure that it weights to all points. Vertex deformation settings should already be fine, and just convert that to skin. And after you convert the skin, and this, yes, the order really does matter because you'll mess up your model if you import the animation first. So you have to make sure that you skin wrap it first before importing the animation, or it won't skin wrap properly. So then we go ahead and we merge the animation, and as you can see, our Monty Man character has issues, right? So this is called a vertex issue, where his right foot vertex is going to his left foot vertex, and to fix that we're going to have to weigh the vertices with bone points. So we could go ahead and delete our Mario. Make sure you always save your progress afterwards, and edit envelopes, vertices, go down to weight points of this weight tool right here. And so now we could select the vertex that's pretty much messed up. So what I like to do personally is I like to select the select element first, so I make sure that all points are being weighed properly. So you just grab his foot, go to M foot R. Where's M foot R? You just push the little one and it weights it to all the points pretty much, and that's fixed foot right there. But as you scroll in, you see he has these tiny bits of issues here too. To fix those, we're going to have to go and select out of select element. We're going to have to select every single vertex around his foot. Just like that. Make sure they're all selected all around his foot. And you could weight it with either M foot R and it would work the exact same way, or joint foot R. It really doesn't matter. So as you can see, it's fixed now. There's no more issues with it showing anything. It looks good. His leg looks fine. And that's pretty much how you do that. So we're just going to go ahead and do that for everything now. And make sure it's all weighed accordingly and that there's nothing wrong with our model, because little differences like this can make a big impact in testing the game. So it's quite tedious when it comes to this part. Thankfully, this is probably one of the most tedious parts, so after you finish this, it should be way easier to accomplish after. And as you can see, his leg, it was kind of like super messed up with everything it's doing. So basically why it does this is because we're grabbing a different model and we're weighing it with Mario's bones instead of his bones in order for it to work on via console and Dolphin and everything. And in my opinion, if it works on console, it must work on anything. And grab that one right there too. I don't think we missed anything, so let's make sure. Now M foot L. Boom, just like that. As you can see, he looks fine now. Perfect. Just fine. Everything is done now with his feet. So let's go to his hands to make sure that they're all nice and tidied up too. Because you might not be able to see it, but there's going to be some minor setback of his hands or something. There's always going to be one minor thing wrong with it. As long as you make it look as good as possible, you won't ever notice it in game either. And there probably won't be any problems either. So I'll go ahead and I'll weight that accordingly. Great. Now I'm going to zoom in, and as you can already see, there's a tiny problem with his arm. So now we're going to go ahead and fix that. And if you can't see really, you could just go into wireframe mode and you could perfectly see the hidden vertex. Oops. Okay, so back to selecting it. So now that's selected, we go ahead, and what I really like to do on this part is slowly fix it. As you can see, it slowly kind of fix it, but we're doing joint hand L if you want it done like the super proper way, but it shouldn't make a difference. Whatever actually makes it appear and to look better. So whatever bones you have to use to make it look as best as possible. So that's all we're really worried about, is appearance at this point. So our appearance is very important. As you can see, that's a good hand right there. There's no issues with it anymore. Yep, no issues with it now. And if we render animation, for so far, it looks pretty freaking good as is right now. But we're gonna go ahead and fix up more of it real fast to make it look even better. So let's just go ahead to his right hand, make sure that's weighed accordingly. See how it changed right there? From that to that, that's stuff you wouldn't ever notice. And now it leaves like a little gap for his actual arm to go, which we will select out of element, so because we don't want to select the whole arm. And we'll go ahead and slowly fix it. just like that, so we don't get confused. Slowly fixing it's a really good thing to do so you don't lose your head. Wireframe mode, make sure nothing's messed up. Oh, I can't really see anything that's too messy here. Yep, nope, it's pretty much, oh, probably right there maybe? Nope, it's pretty much good. Just like that. Everything's fine. So now we're gonna go ahead and select his hat now and wait to the hat mesh, since he actually has a hat. Some models you could get away with not using a hat, which is easily possible and easily done. You just have to kind of know what you're doing and wait to different bones and such. So there will be issues with different models, but I can't go ahead and get every single issue aside, so there will be some new issues some people don't have, but so far with this model in particular does pretty well with the game. So porting models especially adds issues to models too, and you just have to make sure that you fix that or whatever. So now, as you can see, his hat's all gone, and don't worry about his little missing vertice there, because that only looks like that inside of the modeling tool. It won't actually look like that in game. So now let's go ahead and select his actual head. Make sure like everything's selected around it, his eyes, everything. His hair, I'm not too worried about, because it's it automatically did, like, we'll fix his hair too, but we could get it to animate a little bit with an illusion of animating. And it's kind of cool of how that's done too, because you can wait to a certain bone. If you wait to a certain bone that moves more than others, it will make it look like it's animating the hair without any other further animations, which is, in my opinion, very, very cool. So can't really get to his hair that good, so we're gonna go ahead and wireframe mode. And I'm confused now, so I had to look in a little bit at this and then go into wireframe mode. And it looks like his hair's already selected. Accidentally unselected everything, and there we go, everything's good now. So let's go ahead, weigh that to the head, just like that. And his hair, what we're gonna do with that is we're gonna do a little experiment here. It's gonna be really cool though. So we're gonna go ahead and weigh that to joint chest all the way. And as you can see, it kind of makes it look like it's more animated, but we could also use other things like this to make it more straight or whatever. Each bone has its own thing it does. Joint waist, we could do that probably and get away with, no we can't, because that doesn't move enough. But if you want to make this, clean this up as much as possible, make it look the best, probably just wait to the head, and it goes along with it just fine too. So everything is pretty much fixed, right? His model, we'll check it out now. We'll exit edit envelopes, we'll look at it clearly. As you can see, there's zero problems with his models all the way around. It's nice and it's clean, and it works, it looks good, it looks fine. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna rename this mesh -0, and we're gonna go ahead and clone this, copy 001, clone 002. We just need that to be 2, and so forth and so on. And every model is going to take a little bit of time to perfect every single time you do a model. I'm just kind of already used to making models now, so it could be a little, try to speed up with this so it doesn't take as long. And just wait until you get all the way to 10, just like this. So it looks exactly like that, and you have 10 meshes of the same exact model, but it's not going to be like that for very long. So we're going to go ahead and save our progress, and I'm going to go ahead and open up a little thing that I documented to help make custom models of custom settings, because for some reason inside the game it doesn't read 4, 5, and 6, and the reason for this is because 4, 5, and 6 are being used by the hat model. The hat model relies on other models in Mario's files to load instead of that, so it loads for a blink second and then doesn't load anymore. And same with his right hand and left hand, and so forth, so on. And in the game it'll make it look like he's missing limbs, and that if he walks the limbs will magically appear, and we don't want that. We want his limbs to always be showing, so we're going to use these settings here. Now, only downfall for using these settings is he can't take off his hat if he doesn't use the other hat models, but we're not too worried about that because that's just one animation. But if you want to do that, go ahead and do all the other hat models and stuff, and put the hat to mesh 4, and you can go ahead and do that. And if you want to animate the hands, make a whole bunch of hands files doing different things, and then you put the hands on 6 and 5, and then that would fix that little issue. But for tutorial sake, I'm not gonna go ahead and do that. So head 0 is, so 0 is going to be the head. So we're going to go ahead to 0, and we're going to edit the element of this, and we're just going to select his whole body, and we're going to delete all the elements of Paintissimo. Just like that. So the only thing left is literally his head. We're going to be 1000% playing Frankenstein with this. 1000%, yes. I think I deleted too much though. I did. Yep, right there. That's where I deleted too much. You have to be careful of that too. Sometimes you'll select things you don't really mean to select. I do it all the time. So just holding control and selecting them individually too also does perfectly fine too. Boom, just like that. Only his head. So now we're gonna go to 1. We're gonna see what to weigh that. Cap, okay. Same thing, so forth, so on. You just keep doing it like this over and over until you have no more meshes to do it with. Because we need at least 10 meshes for this to load on the console. And we need all the material names to load on console too. And that's just his hat. And we'll go ahead and do 2. If I am right, it's one of the, yeah, it's the left hand. So you have to be careful in the left and right hand. So the best way to determine whether left hand is to go to the back of him, and this obviously is left hand, but on this side it's obviously going to be the right. That could be a bit confusing, so you have to make sure you be careful of that. So yes, that is left hand. So we'll just go ahead and select his whole thing except his left hand, whole model, and then delete everything else. And then obviously the third one's going to be the right hand. So just the opposite. Same thing pretty much. Just like that. Make sure they're matched up. Yep. Number 4. So for number 4, 5, and 6, what we can get away with is we could delete everything but a single polygon that you won't be able to even notice inside the game for these files. So because it will be within the model itself too, and it wouldn't really make a difference. So we'll do on the back of his foot for 4, 5, and 6. It's important to go through 4, 5, and 6 individually and do the same thing and not just clone it and copy, because I've noticed just doing that causes errors in the whole entire model for whatever reason, and I don't know why it does. I don't know where it's coming from, it just does. So I'm just not gonna do that. So if we go to polygon, then we can start selecting mere polygons of Paintissimo's feet, and so all we really need is one polygon of his one foot. It doesn't matter what foot, just something that you wouldn't really see. It's going to be textured the exact same and everything, so you still do have to apply textures to it, so you wouldn't even ever notice that it's even broken apart in game ever. That's what makes this little loophole amazing and just overpowered as all heck. Just like that, just a single polygon, and we'll just go ahead and delete that one. And now we're going to go ahead, and it lifts up because it's from his foot, so that's literally his foot just lifting up and animating just like that as a single polygon. So we'll go ahead and do it for 5 as well. So that one's done. We'll go ahead and do the last one as fast as we possibly can with no errors still. Just like that. And there we go. Now we're done with the useless meshes that won't even be visible in game. And since we have the full foot and everything, there's not going to be anything missing, so works just like that. And this is what I'm going to be talking about the full foot in a minute right here. 7 is going to be the right foot. There's the right foot, and oh yeah, and also another thing in this is you have to click element again and click skin for it to go back into animation. It's very weird. So we're doing left foot, right? Yes, left foot. I always love making sure. That's what I was talking about, is the full model, so it wouldn't really matter. Cutting out a mere polygon that's not even going to be visible in game. And then 9, I know for a fact, is going to be his full body, besides his feet and his head. It's just going to be his body alone. Just like that. And you can see his and so for mesh 10, it's pretty much an addable mesh, so you could add anything to it. You could either add a sun shirt like they're supposed to be, or you can add something else. Mesh 10 is pretty much is when you talk to the Monty with the glasses and everything by the tree, he gives you the sun shirt, so it loads this mesh. So this mesh is never visible except for if you have the sun shirt. So you could go ahead and you could attach like a paintbrush to his whole entire model, or You could just have his hand in here and have a paintbrush like that, or you could put anything you really want in here to match the character just as the item alone, but make sure it matches and lines up with the model as well, and then you could delete the rest of the model and it will just load the item, and in the game it will load with the model and look really cool. But for tutorial's sake, we're not going to do that, so we're just going to go ahead and do the same thing we did with 4, 5, and 6, pretty much, with mere polygon for tutorial's sake. But if you want to go above and beyond, be my guest. And just delete that one too. Okay, I was about to say, is there any more polygons? No, that's the only polygon now. So now that we have our whole model, we're going to make sure it's all here still. Perfect. That's our whole model right there. Go ahead and save him. Make sure he's saved, and we're going to delete what I did is Mario character. That's the bones. We're gonna go ahead and delete that, and then you're gonna rename 0.001 to skeleton root, just like that. And now we're going to export his model via FBX and just call it Monty Man. Go ahead and save that. We're gonna minimize. Oh, and also when you're exporting too, an easy way for exports to always be successful is you could go to animation and you just uncheck the animation, because we don't want to load the animation with it. The animation's just to see our progress and what we're doing pretty much. So now when we export them, it won't really load the animation at all. So now what we're gonna have to do is we need to make his materials.json file. So that's what SuperBMD is for. SuperBMD converts models to DAE, but since I have a BMD importer, we didn't have to do that, and we already have our FBX, so we don't really need the DAE. We just need the two JSON files, which is the text header and the actual materials. The materials is the key to making him look exactly like Pianissimo, with all the lighting effects and everything like that, and how he shines in certain parts of his model, and so on and so forth. So we'll go ahead and get that data. Oh, and his textures too. It helps us with his textures as well. So we'll just go ahead and delete those two. And as you can see, we have a little JSON file now. So now what we're gonna do here is we're gonna count the number of material names. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So there's 11. We're just gonna simply go to texture names, Control F, and find. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's only 7. So we're gonna have to make 2 more. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We're gonna have to make 4 more. My mistake. Let's make sure. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, yeah, that's 7. So we're gonna have to make 4. Yeah, 4 more. So we're just gonna go here, and we can easily just copy this right here all the way down, because it's pretty long. So we're just gonna continue copying the rest of that data. off right there. Copy. Now we can just easily delete that. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now I know for a fact it's going to look funky after that. So bring it back to the top. Okay, just like that. As you can see, it was funky. Okay, looks good. Perfect. So now we're just gonna go ahead and start kind of putting everything in its place. And this is the way Mario's pretty much set up. We have to get as closest as to making it seem like Mario's setup as possible by playing by Sunshine's stupid rules, because Sunshine is very nitpicky on what panic handlers will make it go off and what won't go off and what will crash and what won't crash. So we're just going to continue renaming these. Okay, perfect. So that's finished. We're done with both now, because we don't really have to do anything text header since we're not adding any textures. So normally, if you're adding textures, especially in custom models, you would have to grab this data and copy it 8 times, just like this, but then name the texture accordingly. So now we're going to go ahead and open Blender. I use Blender simply for attaching textures to models because it's easier to use. It does just about the same, and we could also smooth the model down as well using this too. So we're just going to go import FBX. Okay, so it looks like I'm gonna have to do this tutorial. This is our model. It's not gonna be textured yet, of course. Probably pre-textured, but it's gonna be textured wrong. And it's gonna, yeah, of course, just like that. So I'm just gonna go ahead and delete all these materials, right? And this is the most serious part of getting transparency with his hat to actually work and making his model look good.
Yeah.
So now that we've done that, we're just going to look at our text document and as you can see, it has 0 for matte head, and you see mesh 0 through 10. So we're going to go ahead and name it whatever it says here. And for doing this is, if you put the left eye over something, it will like spaz out textures for whatever reason. It's due to the way the game switches between files for the eye animation of closing and opening. So we skip down to 10 because Blender likes to read it right there. Make sure there's no spaces in these either, because if there's like a single space, it won't load correctly. Yeah, no spaces. And the materials are also the most critical to actually getting this whole thing to work too. So you have to make sure the material names are all here as accordingly, because it will crash. Well, it won't crash for Dolphin, it'll load, but it'll crash for console 1000%. Now we're going to go through and make sure there's no spaces within any of these. Not a single one. So now we're going to go over to the texture area, and we're going to do 2. So we're going to attach 2 of the same textures for every single mesh. And the reason of doing this is it loads the transparency. That's how the models were made too, is they had 2 of the same textures attached to them each. And that's how Paintissimo was also built. So we're gonna try to get as close as to the exact thing as we possibly can to how he was created. Then we could easily just go into texture mode and see what we just did. See, it starts texturing him properly. Bam, bam. Apply textures for this too. Every single one. And if you have anything different on mesh 10, you would have to obviously use different textures. And you see how the transparency is like that? By adding 2 textures, that transparency actually works. So it might not work here, but will work in game. So you kind of have to get a visualization of what will work in game and what won't. So you really do have to get used to the game if you want to do any custom models. And there's no need to fix the UV mapping for this, since we have the original model and the original textures of where it came from. So that's pretty much why I'm getting away without having to fix any UV mapping right now. Because usually you would have to fix UV mapping for custom textures and whatever that aren't aligned with the model and there are just your custom textures. And that's very easy to do. You just have to mess with it a bit. This is for people that don't want to mess with UV mapping either, so they could just port models over too from any other game that also works with Sunshine and on console without freezing. Oh, hopefully after this model's done, we've dodged most of the issues along with creating a model. That happens to every single model usually, so those are just most of the main common issues, which is what I said, missing limbs and or missing textures or stuff like that. That's pretty much, we're dodging all of it right now. So we're almost done with this. So yes, this does take quite a bit of time, but it's all worth it afterwards, because after you get to see what you've done to the game, it looks super cool. And honestly, this is not too bad at all, sitting here for a few minutes and doing it. Because what mod do you actually not spend a few minutes on? Like, let's just be real with that. Besides changing one value to another and having you play as a different character, since the game was made like that, and it made it very easy to change characters from a boss or to something else, but that's just one example of a half-ass mod. Just like that. Boom. So it's all textured now. So now what we're going to do now is we're going to go through every single one. We're going to smooth down his model to make it look way more better and way toonier in the game. And it will look exactly like the real thing too. So that's the goal here, is trying to make this look like the real Paintismo, even though this is the real one, but you know, for player model Mario, because they do load differently. Paintismo loads inside of a map, and Mario loads his own file. Of course, everyone would already know that if they ever modded this game. So at least get the minimum basic information of how to extract and compile things. I'll link all my tools down in the description and whatnot, whatever. So there we go. So now this is ready to be exported via FBX, but now we have to watch out, because certain settings in Blender will mess up our model. So what we're going to want to do is select armature and deselect add leaf bones. That will mess up our model. Export FBX. So now we got everything pretty much finished. We're going to open a command prompt and go to this location. And now the command for SuperBMD to pack this back up and also include all of his textures and everything, we have to do this through command prompt.exe. And then now we're going to do the name of the model, which is montyman.fbx, and we want to make that montyman.bmd. So our materials, just like that, and our textures is going to be -x, and I'll also have the command linked in the description too, in case anyone's confused, but it's pretty much it. SuperBMD.exe, our model, montyman FBX right here, and we're going to want to make the FBX a new BMD, so montyman BMD, and our materials right here, negative matte, and then -x for textures. and then just hit enter, and it should just go ahead and do all that. So now I'm gonna make sure we did this correctly. Model viewer, J3D view. So I have everything labeled accordingly and specifically. Takes a minute to load every time. Yep, definitely takes a minute. You guys are probably gonna skip 10 seconds or 20 seconds ahead because of this. And as I say that, it opens right up. Wow. Look at that. Monty Man model. Bam. As you can see, his transparency works fine. Just because we replicated the images twice. That's the only thing behind the transparency.
Caitlin, you want something to store? Okay. Because I pulled the pilot out, so I'm taking torch tomorrow to get it smocked. And it's out of gas.
So we gotta put this in the game.
And you want them to store where I'm going. And you want something, Sean?
I'm good.
Soda, nothing?
Okay. Yeah, we have to compile this now. So we're gonna just leave this here. We need original file of Mario, which is right here, because I re-extracted Mario because I'm super gamer like that. Took me a second to sort through my tools and all. So now we're gonna go ahead, grab this BMD, bam, bam. We also can't get too ahead of ourselves. So all these are what I was talking about. See, cap 1, cap 3, and then glasses. We'll just leave that for the sun shirt and everything, and then all these hand models right here that give an illusion that hands are actually animating but are not. It's just switching between files fast. So we're gonna need empty files of these so it doesn't load in game and mess with our model. Thankfully I have this, and I will also link it because I already made empty models of them that also work with the game, which kind of was a pain for some reason, but it's okay. So just like this, bam, nice and replaced, and we're just gonna go ahead and compile. So you can compile it twice and put this arc and compile it again, but you can easily go ahead, delete the arc, and make it SCS, just like that, and the game will load it the exact same way without issue. So now we're gonna go to our extracted game. We're going to replace Mario, just like this. Now we're gonna drag this over here. We're gonna call this test. And we're gonna go ahead and rebuild. And I'll also link a patched dol file, start.dol file, because I patched the start.dol so that the custom shadowing within characters would work on the console, and it wouldn't do any panic handlers, because even though we did everything right, there's still going to be a panic handler error saying something's wrong, and that's just the shadowing of custom characters. And I did not make this code. Joshua MK made it, and I'll link his channel down because he makes all code and whatever. I'm not sure what he does on his YouTube though. So thanks to Josh, we can now load custom models on console because he made that little shadowing fix. So we're just gonna go ahead and test this, but wait. I'm gonna stop myself here for a second. I'll make sure my options use panic handlers. Always use panic handlers to make sure that this is going to work on console. Because if you have a panic handler issue on the Dolphin, it most likely is not going to work or load on console at all. Okay. I also had to adjust some of my other settings because it seems like I made the game go at 200 speed. So, after me adjusting my settings, let's see how Paintissimo looks in game. You could easily get codes to disable flood too if you don't want flood and you want the actual Paintissimo. So as you can see, he looks perfect in every way. So the audio is not going to be included. That was customly made for me to use for fun. But yeah, so pretty much it works. Nothing wrong with it at all. We'll go ahead and compare and contrast how good he looks. So, no panic handler issues at all. A little difficult to play on keyboard, I must say. So as you can see, they both look exactly the same. With all the lighting and everything, thanks to the materials. All his model shows, there's nothing wrong with it. It loads it exactly it's supposed to. So, we're pretty good on that. Looks pretty good. Like I said, you could get a gecko code to disable this flood. I most likely will include it in the start.dol that you could make them invisible and make them reappear. Something like that, so you could look at the actual model and make it feel like you're actually playing as him. But if you want to, just get a gecko code to disable his flood. So that's pretty much it. So that's pretty much the whole process of making characters. So, see ya.